Joining me in the Catalyst studio on Impact Catalyst is Jenna Byrne, who is the founder of Water Warrior Alliance, as well as Byrne Ocean Conservation. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today, Joe.
So your days are filled. You're doing a lot of work, and we're going to talk about a few of them today. One of the ones we talked about recently was your water goat project. So let's dig in and talk about that, and then we'll come back around and talk about some of the other stuff you're doing.
Yeah, of course. So water goats collect surface debris from adjacent stormwater drains. And so I work with the City of St. Pete and the engineering department in identifying areas in our local Pinellas County area where there is a high volume of debris that's dumped down the stormwater drains. And so we've introduced two over the last year in Southeast St. Pete. One's located at Harborage Marina, and I have another one at Bartlett Park in Salt Creek. The Harborage Marina location was actually the first location to ever have a water goat installed. And now we know there's about a 10-year lifespan for water goats. And Bartlett Park is a brand new identified location. I worked with the Friends of Salt Creek, Old Southeast organization, and Keep Pinellas Beautiful, identifying that particular location. Bartlett Park prevents thousands of pounds of debris from going in Lake Maggiore each year. And then the Harborage Marina location is definitely the highest accumulated trash of any water goat in the United States right now. There's over 115 of them. And the Harborage Marina location collects 200 to 800 pounds every 2 weeks, when an average water goat collects about 125 pounds of debris. And so we had introduced a new research sampling technique called the EPA ETAP analysis that we perform after we do the water goat cleanups, and we separate the debris between categories, and then we analyze how degraded it is, and then log any kind of labels to approach those organizations with plastic-free alternatives.
Wow, a lot to dig into there. So, well, first, I guess we should explain the basic concept of a water goat, which captures it. It comes into it. It protects drains that go into bodies of water. Can you give some more insight on how they actually work?
Yeah, so a water goat, it looks just like a swim area at the beach with the floating buoys, and it has stainless steel chain that suspends it down. It attaches at either point of the water on the shore side, and it locks in. One side is designed to naturally detach during any kind of hurricane or tropical storm, or if there's increased water flow going on at any point in time, so we don't lose the water goat. But the trash accumulates, and it just piles up in the water goat itself. And so I go out about every 2 weeks versus every month, and I clean out the trash with my volunteers before it degrades and turns into microplastics.
Right, and then once it becomes microplastics, then they're small enough to get through the grate, I guess, in the goat, essentially.
Yeah, so the water goat is actually in the water, and the stormwater drains are open, and that's where it funnels in and comes out. So the water goat's on the back end collecting that debris.
Got it. So 200 to 800 pounds, which is up to 8 times the national average, is a lot. So have you been able to go upstream and see the source of why that one's so heavy?
We actually have an event that's coming up within the next few months, and it's called the Stormwater Scavenger Hunt, and we're going to include the local community in helping us better identify a lot of these sources. And we've been working on it over the last few months. It's Booker Creek that runs through downtown St. Petersburg, and it ultimately dumps over there into Bayboro Harbor, which is Tampa Bay. And so the waterways, not really accessible in a lot of spots, but we've gone in off the back of a few private residences when we've been stuck and not able to go any further, and continue to travel up Booker Creek to just identify the main sources of the stormwater outfalls, where it's coming from.
Got it. And so when you look at water goats, the actual contraption itself isn't super expensive, right? It's within reach. I know in small nonprofits, money's always tight. Probably the volunteer hours and the maintenance of going out all the time and collecting the trash and taking it to the dump is probably a big part of the effort. So if you had your sort of wishes, how many more water goats would you like to see installed in St. Pete?
Hundreds.
Hundreds, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what stops that from happening?
Funding is the biggest hurdle, and getting more community involvement on a larger scale with the amount of volunteers that would want to maintain those projects. We had established the Water Warrior Alliance to unite all of the same like-minded individuals to, assist in removing marine debris or practice plastic-free alternatives. And a lot of these groups do partner with us and donate water goats, or they help and set up volunteer services through their work signups, and they come out and the whole organization comes and assists with different cleanups. So the biggest hurdles would be just more organizations joining the Water Warrior Alliance and helping fund and donate additional water goats, and then those volunteers.
And about how much does a water goat cost to purchase?
An average water goat is about $8,000. And so it's fairly, inexpensive compared to a lot of, alternative options that are out there, like litter getters, for the amount of debris it does capture. And it's really low maintenance with what it's made out of, with just the stainless steel chain and buoys. We honestly probably wouldn't have needed to replace the one after 10 years, but there was vandalism and somebody removed like 20 foot of chain, and then it was obviously too tight and it had snapped.
Got it. That's too bad. And your involvement with plastics in the water doesn't stop at the goat. You actually are active in sampling in the ocean, sampling the ocean floor. Seeing how many microplastics are there. You do that with Byrne Ocean Conservation. Can you talk a little bit about why you started that and what sort of the main body of work you're doing with this?
Yeah, I had originally founded Byrne Ocean Conservation doing sediment samples for ecotoxicity, looking for heavy metals. I was introduced to a machine called a cavitation cleaner, and it separates barnacles off the bottom of a vessel without removing any of the heavy metal paint. It's been government and Interlux tested and proven to remove literally 0.001 microns of paint, which is extremely impressive. Alternatively, divers use paint scrapers to clean the bottom of a vessel, which dumps a lot of those heavy metals that are in those bottom paints into the water. And so we started sampling, looking for the metals, but we found a lot more microplastics. And so that's when we started to separate a little more from just doing citizen science reporting to the state and, take action of removing marine debris. So I had partnered with Keep Pinellas Beautiful and started hosting beach cleanups where I'd bring out divers and snorkelers to sweep the waterfront side of things. And then now we host several PADI Project to Wear dive against debris events throughout the year, which evolved into our St. Pete Ocean Sweep trash collection tournament that we have to build awareness on the topic.
That's great. And a lot of those things work well with when you can still see and pick up the trash, but when it gets to the level of tiny granules, what can be done to remove those from the ocean?
So up to 35% of the plastics that are in our waterways actually come through our stormwater treatment facilities because we don't have filters small enough to collect the microfibers when we're cleaning our clothes. There hasn't been anything that's been put into place to solve that issue. So I've actually recently been given privileges from WaterGoat, and I have a pilot program that I just launched last month, and I had designed these plastic pods, and I interchange a few of the buoys on 5 test locations here in Pinellas, and these plastic pods have filters inside that help me collect the microfibers as one of my first steps in seeing, what are the options for us to be able to start collecting these, which water goats and which locations are performing better with this pilot program. And then ultimately, we'd like to introduce water goats outside stormwater treatment facilities full of these plastic pods to collect the outfall.
That's great. That's really great. And, one of the reasons I asked you to have this conversation is because I do think that your input versus output ratio is one of the highest that I've seen. You do a lot with a little, and love to get you more support to do this work. So can you talk about your fundraising needs and sort of where people can plug in and what you would use the support for?
Yes, funding is our biggest hurdle. And so we have the annual St. Pete Ocean Sweep event, where I have a lot of sponsors that contribute on an annual basis, and they get sponsorship in lieu of their donation towards that event. This last year was hosted at the pier, and each year it's been at a different location, but the St. Pete Pier finally opened, so that was a gorgeous spot to have it. We utilize the funds generated from that event for scholarships for our Camp Coral. And I would love to be able to increase the amount of local youth that we get to provide assistance to. This year, 90% of the kids that attended our program were on scholarship. It's been a really difficult few years with COVID, and we don't want to turn anybody away. I grew up getting exposed to the local environment, and so it's not something I want to deny any child of. So we expose them to the chance to be environmental stewards. So our current programs throughout the year are our marine debris removal programs, and it's all volunteer-based. I've been volunteering myself since 2017, and we would utilize additional funding to be able to bring in extra dive vessels, better equipment, introduce new water goats. And I am in need of securing funds for materials for a Mr. Trash Wheel. I'm in the process of doing a feasibility study at the Harborage Marina location. And so we are going to start selling stickers, like NASCAR style, to brand this new Mr. Trash Wheel device that's going to be put in at the Harborage location to help generate more funds for our annual programs.
That's great. And you mentioned Camp Coral in there. We can touch on that briefly. That is a 2-week program for kids. They get their PADI certification for diving at the end of it, and a whole lot more. How have those gone for you?
Camp Coral is a wonderful experience. It's just so special to be a part of a kid experiencing something like scuba for the first time and seeing all the obstacles and challenges they have to overcome with all the work they have to put in it themselves. So it's really a rewarding camp to be a part of. The first day, they start off with tandem kayaking with sweetwater kayaks, and then we spend the next 3 days getting scuba certified with Let's Dive, because ultimately them getting their certification is one of the most important things. But getting the buddy system down at first is where we needed to start. So then we travel around here, the St. Pete area, and they participate in marine science activities. And then the whole second week, they go down to the Florida Keys and they stay on site with Mote Marine, and they assist with the coral restoration project there. So they learn how to frag coral and transplant it, and they dove Lou Key a few times to be able to, see the improvements that Mote's made down there over the last 10 years. And so now a lot of these kids are great friends. They go out spearfishing here in the local area, and, they love to still participate in a lot of our annual cleanups that we have.
That's great. So we covered a lot of great stuff. As we look to the next sort of 12 months, what's top of your list to accomplish? What are you looking forward to doing that you already have in process, or things that you may hope come to fruition?
Recently here in St. Petersburg, Councilman Robert Blackman has introduced the new revitalization of the Science Center. It's been closed since 2014, and the city acquired the property in 2019, and they had put stormwater treatment facilities on the back of it, which is all water quality, which is what we specialize in. And so I'm really interested in seeing, opportunities of our organization getting a seat in the new Science Center. What potential growth there might be with that would be, wonderful to be a part of. And it's going to be just a great incubator hub for all the marine science and nonprofits and STEAM-based nonprofits here in St. Petersburg. So we want to utilize our Water Warrior Alliance and offer educational space to all of the different groups, just depending on what STEAM program they might offer or workshop within our facility, and use it for our monthly meetings that we have.
That's great. Well, really appreciate the work that you do. Hopefully, if you're watching and you're inspired by what Jenna's been doing, we'd love to if you can donate a goat, rhymes, and it would do a lot of good. And, keep up the good work, and we'll look forward to supporting you as you roll forward, and maybe we'll see you in the Science Center.
Yes, thank you so much for having me out today. And for anyone that's watching, if you're interested in being part of the solution to plastic pollution, join the Alliance today. Check us out online at waterwarrioralliance.org.